I've been a part of some films that have been embraced, and I'm very grateful. They have changed my life, they have given me life, they have provided life.
Keanu Reeves has always seemed like the kind of man who carries a world of sorrow in his chest but never points fingers. His life reads like a tapestry of heartbreak. A father who vanished when he was just a toddler. A best friend whose death left him hollow. A child he never met because of tragedy. And a love lost to a sudden car crash. And yet through it all, Keanu moved quietly, never lashing out, never publicly grieving for attention. He forgave. He endured. He survived. But there is one betrayal, one singular act of deception that even Keanu Reeves, the man who seemed unbreakable, could never forget. And it came from someone so unexpected, someone he once trusted, someone who was supposed to be on his side. A childhood without anchors. Keanu Charles Reeves was born on September 2nd, 1964, in Beirut, Lebanon, a city already trembling with tension. His father, Samuel Reeves Jr., a Hawaiian Chinese geologist, left when Keanu was barely 3 years old. That absence left a shadow that stretched across the rest of his childhood. His mother, Patricia Taylor, a British costume designer, tried to piece together a semblance of stability, moving young Keanu from Beirut to Sydney, New York, and ultimately Toronto. But with every new city, every new home, came another beginning that felt temporary, another circle of friends that never lasted, another set of goodbyes that imprinted on his young heart. School did not provide solace. Keanu struggled with dyslexia, undiagnosed at the time, which made reading and writing feel like a daily war. Between 1979 and 1984, he attended 4 different high schools. Teachers labeled him distracted, lazy, unmotivated. His report cards were littered with D's and F's. By the age of 17, Keanu had made a choice that surprised many. He dropped out entirely. Conventional education had failed him, but in its failure lay a glimmer of freedom. Acting became his beacon, the first world where his voice, quiet yet compelling, could be heard. Yet the instability at home never faded. Patricia's marriages brought in a rotating cast of stepfathers, some kind, some cold, most gone before Keanu could learn to trust them. One brief marriage introduced him to the stage, theater, and performance, but it ended quickly. From a young age, Keanu learned a lesson few people would ever understand. The only person he could rely on completely was himself.
You're in a relationship, you have some morning sex, eat a great breakfast, go for a motorcycle ride, come back, swim, have more sex.
At 13, a brief reunion with his father in Kauai, Hawaii, ended without forgiveness, without warmth, just a silent acknowledgement of a bond that had already been severed. Keanu never spoke to his father again. That early abandonment shaped him in profound ways. It gave him resilience, but also taught him that betrayal could cut deeper than loss. That lesson would echo decades later in a way no tragedy could. The struggle to break in. By the mid-1980s, Keanu was hungry for work, but invisible to the industry. At 20, he earned a modest $200 a week as a youth correspondent for CBC in Toronto, while auditioning tirelessly in the background. The name Keanu Reeves itself felt like a barrier. Agents suggested he use Casey Reeves to sound less ethnic, less strange. For 2 years he tried, but it never felt like him. By 1987, he reclaimed his birth name, determined to succeed as himself, even if that meant failing publicly. That same year, his talent began to emerge. In River's Edge, a dark independent drama about teenagers numbed by violence, Reeves's portrayal of the conflicted Matt drew critical attention. His strength wasn't in overt theatrics, but in subtle, quiet intensity. He could convey deep emotion with a mere glance. 2 years later, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure showed a different facet: innocence, humor, and the ability to connect with audiences without artifice. Suddenly, Hollywood had a rising star who was authentic and versatile, but no success could erase the undercurrent of loneliness that accompanied him. Fame didn't fill the void left by a childhood spent moving, by a family scattered by circumstance. Keanu knew trust was fragile, a lesson reinforced again and again through life's losses. Friendship, loss, and heartbreak. The 1990s brought both triumph and tragedy. Films like Point Break showcased his growing skill and charisma, but it was his work in My Own Private Idaho, alongside River Phoenix, that revealed a deeper emotional range. Reeves and Phoenix forged a bond that went beyond the screen. They became brothers in spirit. That bond ended abruptly and painfully on October 31st, 1993, when River Phoenix collapsed outside the Viper Room. He was 23. Keanu, filming Speed at the time, was shattered. The grief left a permanent scar. The pain of losing someone so close and so young compounded everything he already carried from childhood. It was a reminder that life could be both beautiful and cruelly fleeting. Yet Keanu's resilience shone. Speed, released in 1994, became a blockbuster. He refused the sequel when offered, valuing integrity and reason over money, a move that angered studios but ultimately cemented his reputation as someone guided by principle rather than profit. He knew that sometimes survival meant walking away from what was easy, from what was expected. The rise of Neo and the price of success, 1999, arrived, and with it, The Matrix. Reeves wasn't the first choice, but once he stepped into Neo's trench coat, Hollywood and the world couldn't look away. The $60 million sci-fi blockbuster grossed nearly $500 million worldwide. Reeves became an icon, representing not just action and cool, but a philosophical depth, a calm amid chaos. Yet tragedy struck again. His daughter, stillborn in December 1999, and his girlfriend, Jennifer Sim, killed in a car crash in 2001, shattered him. By the time he faced betrayal in 2000, Reeves had endured more heartbreak than many would face in a lifetime. And still, he forgave. He endured. He continued to work, silent but strong. The betrayal that cut deeper than death. Most people assume loss, death, or abandonment are the deepest cuts in life. But Keanu's story proves otherwise. Fresh off The Matrix, Reeves discovered that he had been legally bound to star in a film he never agreed to. The Watcher, a psychological thriller about a serial killer. The twist? His signature had been forged. The man behind it was Joe Charbonic, someone Reeves trusted, a friend from earlier professional collaborations. Charbonic had engineered the deception, forcing Keanu into a role he had no interest in, paying him a fraction of what his co-stars earned. The film was critically panned, a humiliating experience that threatened to tarnish his reputation. But beyond the public failure, it was the personal betrayal that cut deepest. Keanu could forgive death, forgive misfortune, even forgive neglect. But betrayal by someone he once called a friend? That scar never fully healed. It lingered quietly in the corners of his mind for decades, a reminder that some wounds aren't inflicted by chance. They're deliberate. The quiet strength of forgiveness. Even through the Watcher fiasco, Reeves didn't lash out. He didn't take to the media, didn't air grievances publicly. He handled it the way he handles most of life's hardships, silently, with dignity, and a focus on moving forward. Betrayal had taught him that anger is a fleeting emotion, one that never heals what's broken. The years that followed allowed him to reclaim control of his career. Films like The Lake House and The Day the Earth Stood Still kept him visible, but it was John Wick, beginning in 2014, that reminded the world of his enduring power. Reeves channeled every ounce of his grief, every lesson learned from betrayal and loss, into the role of a man whose determination and quiet intensity captivated audiences anew. Even as the world celebrated his return to prominence, one truth remained hidden. For decades, Reeves had carried the weight of Joe Charbonic's betrayal quietly in his heart. Friends, fans, and colleagues assumed that the heartbreaks of his personal life were the hardest trials. Few knew the silent sting of deliberate deception by someone he trusted implicitly. And now at 60, Keanu Reeves is ready to finally speak that name aloud. Not out of revenge, not for scandal, but because some truths, some betrayals, can't be carried in silence forever. The day Keanu Reeves finally spoke the name aloud, the room went silent. Not silent in a staged, dramatic way, but the kind of silence that presses down on a crowd's chest like gravity. A life of quiet endurance had led to this moment. Every heartbreak, every loss, every betrayal, every single act of patience and self-restraint, all funneled into the words he was about to utter. Joe Charbonic, The man who had once called himself a friend, who had once shared laughs, ideas, and professional hopes, was the one Keanu could never forgive. Every public tragedy he endured, the stillbirth of his daughter, the sudden death of Jennifer Sim, the loss of River Phoenix, the scars of abandonment, those were wounds that time had softened, lessons he could bear. But Joe Charbanic's betrayal had been deliberate, cold, and calculated. That cut differently. That was a betrayal that left a lasting imprint. The story behind it, Keanu revealed, was not simply about a forged contract or a poorly executed movie. It was about trust, about a man who had climbed into his life pretending loyalty, only to manipulate, deceive, and undermine him. Charbanic had created a trap disguised as opportunity. At the time, Reeves could not legally fight it. Lawyers could not unpick the forged signatures. Public opinion could not undo the humiliation. He had been forced to step into a film he had no interest in, with a script that bored him, surrounded by colleagues whose talents surpassed the material they were given. Keanu's eyes, calm yet heavy, reflected the quiet anger that never dissipated. "It's not just the movie," he said, his voice steady, low but resonant. "It's knowing someone you trusted, someone you considered a brother, chose to use you, to manipulate your career, and thought it would never be discovered. That changes the way you see the world." Even as a man accustomed to silence, Keanu revealed the toll the deception had taken. In interviews later, he admitted he felt violated in a way that death or loss could never inflict. "Death takes people," he said. "It leaves pain, yes, but it doesn't choose betrayal. It doesn't betray your trust. That's a wound of its own kind." For a man whose life had been defined by a series of tragedies, Keanu's endurance had always been remarkable. He had learned that pain was inevitable, that the world often delivered suffering without explanation. And yet, the betrayal by Charbanic remained the one fracture that lingered, unhealed and vivid. "I forgave many things," he explained, "but betrayal, deliberate betrayal, that's something you carry differently. It doesn't fade with time. It sits in the shadows, reminding you to never trust blindly again." Despite the sting, Reeves had not allowed the betrayal to define the trajectory of his career. After the public disappointment of The Watcher, he retreated into projects that mattered, into films and roles that allowed him to reconnect with authenticity and purpose. He walked away from the easy money, the high-profile blockbusters, the scripts that didn't resonate. He chose projects like The Lake House and eventually John Wick, which allowed him to channel all his experiences, tragedy, heartbreak, grief, and yes, betrayal, into something cinematic and transformative. Fans, critics, and the media assumed that his silence on Charbanic's actions was indifference. Few understood the weight he carried silently. To Keanu, publicizing the betrayal for the sake of drama would have been meaningless. The hurt wasn't performative, it was personal. The pain was real, intimate, and in its own quiet way, sacred. Yet as Reeves approached his 60th birthday, he realized the necessity of speaking, not for vengeance, not for spectacle, but as closure, for himself and for the truth. Years of reflection had made him understand that betrayal, when left unspoken, can fester, twisting memories and shaping perception in ways unseen. He had lived decades carrying the weight of Charbanic's actions silently, but the world needed to know, if only to understand the man who had endured everything yet remained upright. When he first confronted Charbanic privately, the conversation was icy and almost ritualistic. There were no raised voices, no shouting, just the quiet acknowledgement of what had happened. "I never expected you to do that," Reeves had said simply, "not because I'm naive, but because you were supposed to be on my side." Charbanic's response, vague and dismissive, confirmed the magnitude of the betrayal. "I did what I had to do," he said. Reeves knew then that some wounds were not meant for resolution. Forgiveness was optional, but trust could never be restored. In reflecting on the broader arc of his life, Keanu realized that betrayal had shaped him in ways tragedy never could. Death and loss are cruel but universal. Betrayal by a friend is intimate, targeted, a conscious violation. Charbanic's deception had been a turning point. A moment where Reeves saw the fragility of trust, the danger of letting your guard down, and the necessity of choosing allies carefully. Yet there was a lesson beyond anger. Keanu's response to the betrayal exemplified a philosophy that had carried him through every hardship. He could not undo the past, but he could control his reaction to it. He could channel it into work, into craft, into life choices that preserved his dignity and integrity. John Wick, a story of resilience, loss, and quiet determination, became a metaphor not just for fiction, but for the man himself. Every punch thrown, every silent stare, every calculated move on screen mirrored Reeves' own endurance in life. And yet, despite his restraint, the betrayal left a permanent mark. It reminded him that people, even those closest to you, can choose self-interest over loyalty. That even love and friendship are not guarantees. That trust is a precious commodity, rare and invaluable. For Reeves, who had endured abandonment, death, grief, and loss, betrayal was the ultimate teacher. It forced him to examine not only others but himself, how he trusted, how he forgave, and how he navigated relationships going forward. The story took on an almost mythic quality in the public eye. Fans speculated about why Keanu Reeves, a man known for kindness and humility, carried certain resentments in private. They assumed it was loss, that grief alone had hardened him. Few understood that it was the deliberate violation of trust, a conscious act by a man he once admired, that shaped his quiet resolve. When Keanu finally revealed the truth, it was not an attempt to defame Charbonnet, but to contextualize a lifetime of choices. He explained that his decisions to decline sequels, to avoid certain projects, and to quietly retreat from Hollywood's limelight were all influenced, in part, by this betrayal. It had forced him to rethink collaboration, authenticity, and his own boundaries. It had made him more discerning, more cautious, and ultimately, more resilient. Reeves also spoke about the ripple effects of betrayal. Trust, once broken, changes every subsequent interaction. For someone whose life had already been punctuated by tragedy, the act of a friend's deception was a profound lesson in human nature. It forced him to consider the intentions behind every gesture, every contract, every handshake. In the quiet moments when cameras were off and lights dimmed, he would revisit the memory and remind himself of its lesson. Survival isn't just about enduring hardship. It's about choosing wisely who walks beside you. Yet for all the pain, there was a silver lining. The betrayal did not define him, nor did it diminish his capacity for empathy, loyalty, or kindness. Keanu remained one of Hollywood's most grounded, generous figures. Stories of his quiet acts of giving, mentorship, and compassion continue to emerge. Charity work, paying for strangers' medical bills, helping young actors. He embodied the principle that personal betrayal need not poison the heart. The moment he revealed Charbonnet's name publicly, the world collectively exhaled. Fans marveled at his ability to endure silently for decades and only speak when necessary. The revelation reframed the narrative of his life. His perseverance was no longer just about surviving death and loss. It was also about enduring betrayal with grace and strength. For Reeves, the act of speaking was cathartic. He described it not as vengeance, but as truth-telling, a way to reclaim agency. "I carried this for years," he said, "and it weighed on me more than any failure or loss. Speaking it aloud isn't about anger. It's about acknowledging reality and moving forward without bitterness." In that sense, the revelation was not just about Charbonnet, it was about Keanu himself. It was about resilience, discernment, and the enduring human capacity to rise above manipulation. His life, marked by tragedy, loyalty, and perseverance, demonstrated that even when trust is broken, integrity can remain intact. As the interview concluded, Keanu leaned back, calm but resolved, eyes reflecting decades of quiet contemplation. "Life isn't fair," he said simply. "People will hurt you, friends will betray you, but you get to decide what you do with that pain. You get to decide whether it breaks you or makes you stronger." I chose the latter. And with that, the man who had faced unimaginable loss, heartbreak, and betrayal left the world with a message not just about his life, but about the human experience. Forgiveness is a choice. Resilience is a practice, and truth, when finally spoken, carries the power to liberate. Keanu Reeves endured abandonment, grief, heartbreak, and public scrutiny. He survived personal tragedies that would crush most people. Yet it was betrayal by someone he once trusted that left the deepest mark, a lesson in discernment, resilience, and the power of silent endurance. At 60, by finally naming Joe Carbonic, Keanu didn't seek revenge. He claimed his narrative, framed his story on his own terms, and showed the world that true strength is often quiet, deliberate, and unwavering. And for those who follow the arc of his life, it becomes clear. The man we see on screen, calm, thoughtful, and resilient, is a reflection not only of his talent, but of decades of lessons learned, battles endured, and betrayals survived. The revelation is more than gossip. It's an insight into how human beings navigate the world after being deceived. It's a study in integrity under fire, in quiet courage, and in the profound ways personal betrayal can shape a life, even one as luminous as Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves' story reminds us that the most damaging wounds are not inflicted by chance, but by those we trust the most.